What's going on, y'all? We are live. It is Sunday, April 15th, tax day 2018. And this is Brian, and this is Let's Talk Beer News, the weekly news show where we talk about beer. And boy, do we have some news for you. It's been a couple weeks, so we gathered some of the bestest news in the beer world we could find, and we're going to deliver it to you in about 20 minutes or less, considering the quality of the news this week. I'm your host, Brian, and with me, as always, Jeff Lee. What up, Jeff?
What's going on?
What are you drinking?
I have a breakout IPA from Long Live Beer Works. These are the folks that recently collabed with Deciduous.
All right.
So,
awesome. How's it tasting?
delicious.
Very nice. Did you pick it up at Deciduous?
No, my boss lives down near them, and he sent me some of this in exchange for the Deciduous collab that I gave to him.
Very cool. Very cool. And Ben Watts, welcome, sir.
What's going on, gang?
What are you drinking?
How we doing? I'm drinking some Bissell Brothers Lager Bière. Love a good straight lager.
I guess
Always an easy.
Oh, for sure. And this is a good time to mention that I got that big fan of Spruce Creek Provisions in Kittery. Got that there. I don't know, Ben, if you tried the Solid Gold that I gave you, but I'm not a big fan. I don't know if you had a chance to try that.
You didn't give me one.
Oops, I finished them, so don't get it. It's not that great.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, we were talking about the Solid Gold from Founders. Mass produced a microbreweries lager being distributed at a mass scale. I picked some up at Rite Aid, if you can believe it, and it's not that great. It's not a good lager, and actually that lager that you have there, Ben, is Tasty Treats. So good stuff there.
I would believe this would be probably like some people who are doing it right.
Yes, absolutely. I'm rocking. Jeff, get ready for this one. It's a hazy bastard right here.
Wow.
And it's known as the Treehouse Green. So I don't know what the hell happened this past. I mean, Jeff, you haven't been on a podcast in a couple weeks, but listen, I've changed. And this is all. We're only got to talk about IPAs now and hazy stuff.
All right, that's fine.
No, I'm kidding.
Cool.
Big shout out to Rick Bruce, who pulled the Indian motorcycle out and rode out to the Treehouse and got some beers for me. So God bless Rick Bruce. But yeah, let's talk about some beer news. We have some news about the fastest growing breweries of this year. We have some more Green Flash news. Obviously, it's going to be more unfortunate. We have Miller Coors responding to Stone about Stone suing over the use of the word Stone in Keystone. Drink every time you hear the word Stone. And after that, we're going to talk about Stone's response to the response from Miller Coors, and a little gem, a big gem is coming to New England, and we're psyched to talk about it. But let's kick it off first with the Brewer Association, some light news, and we're talking about the fastest growing U.S. craft breweries of 2017. It released its inaugural list of the 50 fastest growing small and independent craft brewing companies of 2017. Median growth from 2016 to 2017 for these breweries was 216%. The median size of the breweries on the list went from 284 barrels in 2016 to 963 barrels in 2017. These companies represent 5.5% of craft's growth by volume for 2017 and includes 8 brew pubs, 40 microbreweries, and 2 regional craft breweries. It's a very interesting list. I obviously expected to see a bunch of big names on here that I'd recognize. Not the case here, so I'm not sure of the criteria. They do list some of the criteria in this, but I guess I don't get the full gist of it. The number one fastest craft brewery, fastest growing craft brewery in 2017 is Craft Roots Brewing Company in Milford, Mass. And Jeff, Ben, have you heard of these guys?
No, never.
So it's interesting there, and I've not seen them at a beer fest. I've been to a couple in Mass already by this point, and I just haven't really heard about them. So they're number one out of Milford, Mass. Another one out of Mass is Hopsters in Newton, Mass. And I know this might account for. They also have a newer spot on, I think it's Summer Street or that area near what do you call it? The Trillium. Barrel, the Growler House, the Trillium has in South Boston, but it's awesome. It's a really fancy place, but I've been there. But Again, not a lot of things jumping out here, so I'm not sure what you guys take of this list. I see Frost Beer Works. Big shout out to them, making number 32. So what do you guys think about this list? Interesting or?
I mean, I think it's interesting in that I only recognize two people on it. But then again, just from some of those size numbers that you threw out, it didn't sound like we're talking about like an enormous amount of growth. Maybe it speaks to the fact that the industry is not growing at maybe the pace we're used to, and so some smaller growth could be bigger news than it might have been in years past.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you go from selling, like 50 pours a week to 250 pours a week in 2018, that's gonna substantially make a difference for you. But that's, I mean, evidently from just this list, it's got to be something that's, relative to these smaller breweries who are working with nothing and getting something versus, from Stone and Boston Beer Company on down, whose year-to-year shift just doesn't like impact it that much.
Yeah, and it's pretty decently spread out, as you see on this map.
That's a good point there. Honestly, the geography was something I was just going to say, is that this looks like it is well spread out across the country, which it is not in the traditional beer pockets of like Colorado and the Bay Area and San Diego that you may expect to see.
Right. Watch out, Earth Eagle, because it looks like in Idaho there's a brewery called Snow Eagle. So, we'll see
also
a lawsuit. No.
Interesting points is that nothing in Maine. Maine's sort of is it plateauing? Is it we know there's growth, but maybe it's not as big as some of these other ones. Seeing as Maine has been considered a pretty big hotbed, and quite honestly surprised just to see Frost in Vermont with the supposed growth that Vermont is having, or even the hotbed of brewing that it is, that only Frost. I mean, no disrespect to Frost. I think they make great beer, and it's awesome to see them on this list. I'm just surprised they're the only ones.
As of now, the three of us plan to be in Denver for GABF. This might be a good list to start from, maybe, if see these 50 and see if they show up in Denver in October and see how those kind of match up.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
I mean, but it also depends on if they get into it, because if there's small breweries that don't necessarily distribute, the whole getting into GABF thing is a challenge anyway, even for a bigger brewery. So we'll see. But I'll keep an eye on this list, and that'd be cool to like kind of do a friggin' Excel thing where you're like, are they in the GABF or something? We'll figure it out. So yeah, check. We'll keep an eye on that. The link, of course, and links to all these news items are in the show notes as per usual. Let's talk about Green Flash. Jeff, you got this one, right?
Yeah. So those of you that have been listening in the previous weeks know that we have been chronicling the downward spiral of Green Flash, and it appears to have hit another low. Their primary lender and largest shareholder, Comerica Bank, has foreclosed on them. Something I think we all probably predicted. It appears as though the assets have been sold to a risk management firm in Michigan named WCIPA LLC. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that stands for West Coast IPA.
How dare you?
And it looks like they are going to stay running the Alpine brand as well, which is good news for me, because I've always been a bigger fan of Alpine's beers than I have of Green Flash's beers. It also appears that the founder is going to be staying. He is listed, Mike Hinckley, that is listed on several press releases and some other documents around their liquor license. So he is going to be staying in some capacity, running the company. It looks like they're turning over some executives. The president's leaving, and they're getting a new vice president of sales. But they are supposedly gonna keep running, and gonna still open the brew pub in Nebraska and use that as a model for their future small market expansions or whatever they're trying to do. So basically same as the last time, only it's finally real now that they are locked into just distributing in the southwestern part of the country and in the greater San Diego area.
Yeah,
so.
And obviously this is huge news still, just because they were bigger than Smutty Nose. They had kind of the biggest. The biggest to lose. They had a lot going on, and obviously they're making a big play. And Beer Pulse and Full Pint and whoever, the Brewbound, they'll keep up on top of the news, because just want to see what's going to be going on. And I bet you a lot of other breweries are looking at this news to see where they should be going, and it'll be interesting. See.
I think it's interesting that we started off with a story about the fastest growing breweries, and now here we are telling a story of a brewery that would probably have been considered a very fast grower, and has sort of outgrew their britches. If the one note here, they're talking about their sales vice president that's leaving. You know, he grew them from 14,000 barrels to over 90,000 last year. I don't have a date on when they were at 14,000, but you can be pretty sure that was probably in a very few years that they went up to 90,000. So a lesson to be learned. Maybe getting yourself on the fastest growing list nowadays isn't the best thing to be. Who knows? We'll see.
It's a yin yang podcast. Ben, thoughts on Green Flash going out?
It's kind of hard to say what's going to happen. I mean, it still feels like we're kind of in the limbo area of the trajectory of this sale. Like we were kind of talking about it off air, but it looks like Mike Hinckley, who was one of the main guys at Green Flash, who has kind of been the mouthpiece of the sale or the foreclosure and not intended sale to this new company, but is still going to remain on board. So like it's too soon to tell. Like a week ago when this news came out, it was like, oh, see you later Green Flash, see you later Alpine, but like there's still hints that like it might still continue here, much like what we're experiencing here on the Seacoast with somebody knows. Yeah, it's too early to tell. Like we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off that, there's not too much news, extra news in the Somebody Knows realm. They're kind of doing the press tour thing I saw recently. They had Maggie Hassan up to the brewery and taking some photo ops and stuff. So things you do to kind of show your stakeholders, hey, we mean business. So nothing much to report there, but yeah, we'll keep an eye on Green Flash because this news itself is about a week and a half old, and there's always updates on it, but it'll probably go away for a little bit and then come back up. But yeah, keep an eye on that. All right, listen. We have responses to something. We have a response to the response. Ben, let's go. What's going on with this Miller Coors Stone, Keystone Stone thing?
Oh, God, it's too much. It's too much. This is just a nightmare.
Make it stop.
I mean, we kind of touched on this on previous podcasts about Stone going after Keystone for violating intellectual property and. Which seemed like a little bit of a land grab, and a marketing campaign to, just get the word out there. But at the same time, I feel like there's some base in there. I feel like there's a substantial claim. But so after we reported on this previously, Miller Coors came back and with a. Oh God, how long is this dossier? This thing is like,
it sucks.
It's 82 pages.
Yeah.
It's an 82-page
My
response
lawyers
dossier.
do.
Like at first I thought it was like an April Fool's thing too, right? Because I mean, it just looks like, wait, so they're responding with this because obviously they filed some sort of lawsuit, but like some of the verbiage in here is just kind of dumb. I mean, it doesn't seem like lawyers
for sure.
speak,
and there's verbiage in here that's kind of stupid, and there's verbiage in here that obviously takes a swing at Stone. Kind of like low blow nut shots, but I hate to defend Miller Coors, but like at some points of this, I feel like Stone was kind of going after this, like, oh look, it says Stone, but it also says Key. It says Keystone,
right?
And so their argument is that. It's been called Keystone for 10 years before Stone Brewing ever existed. And, they're just kind of trying to highlight their new branding campaign, which says, one word Key, second word Stone, and highlighting the cans to only show the Stone part of it. Let me quote the legal
Legal
business
speak.
here. It says, this case is not about verbatim copying, but Stone's Brewing's struggle with its new identity as a global mega craft beer manufacturer. Gone is the small Stone Brewing of old. Today, Stone Brewing is one of the largest brewers in the United States, and its beer is sold on 5 continents. So they're just trying to like they're trying to like sweep the rug out from under their legs that they're like your mom and pop craft beer place.
It's such a, and that was such like a weird like compliment, but also something that doesn't belong. Like opinions like that shouldn't belong in this. And what's even crazier is it's just like a lot of this stuff is just so weird. But at the end of the day, like can they prove that Stone was going after, or that Miller Coors was going after Stone with these labels? I don't think they can actually prove this unless there's like a napkin, like something written on a napkin saying we're going to copy it and make it look bigger.
Yeah,
I mean, but does it look like shady business? Probably is.
You could interpret it as shady business, but even the Stone lawyers don't sound super confident in it. It just like seems like it's more of a, we'll engage in this fight because it gets our name on the map.
Yeah, and this whole dossier thing has pretty sweet can, like if you want to look at it, how a can is designed and stuff. So for the craft beer nerd, it's pretty good, but it's just a lot of like blah blah blah. But again, that's kind of what Cook did in his video in the first place about it. It would just kind of be just long drawn out as he usually is when he comes out on social media. But again, it's just kind of like it's a measuring contest, a can measuring contest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is very similar, though different, from the whole IPA lawsuit that happened to Lagunitas, Sierra Nevada one. Like, this isn't good, and this doesn't really matter for anybody. It is just two companies, I think, can measuring, I guess, if I like that term you used. And I think that this is, in some ways, Miller Coors giving Stone some of their own business back. They were kind of flippant in the way they announced this and the stuff they said in that YouTube video, and so this is kind of sticking it back to them. I see both sides of this one. I'm not going to defend either one. I think it's probably a little underhanded on Miller Coors' part to do this, but to their right, they've had this trademark longer, and it's only they're only highlighting part of the name, and that may be underhanded, but they have had the trademark longer, and I know I've never been confused by Stone or Keystone. So let them fight it out and see what happens.
Yep. And and there's a link in there to both the response to Greg and then Greg's response to that response, which is just, I think it links to another podcast which should have been ours, but I don't know. And it just he speaks to how Miller Coors' law firm kind of got paid to do what they do and present a lot of doublespeak in the article. So we'll see what happens. And he mentioned that they're going to be publishing each misstatement on Twitter, which is always a way to go nowadays, is put stuff on Twitter. But I don't have Twitter anymore, so I'm not looking on there or looking out for it. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at those misstatements on Twitter, if they followed through on that promise, but nada. That's
Twitter's the one with the at mentions.
Twitter's the one with the slide of the DMs.
Yeah. Okay, right.
Yeah. Let's pick this back up. So that's your whining for the week. Before that,
they are tweeting about it. I will say that last week there was 3 tweets in a row.
Okay,
actually no, it was like this weekend, 3 tweets right in a row. So
really, all right. Well,
yeah, they got pictures of advertisements hiding the key part of the name, stuff like that. So.
Yeah. And they'll get plenty of likes. It's not hurting Stone. It's just the world we live in, where obviously you have to battle this out in front of the world on Twitter and social media. So whatever, let them do it. And again, God, like and every time something like this happens, I think to myself, is this happening in the wine industry? And how weird is that? And how dumb do they think we are for stuff like this? Because I think the wine stuff, if this is happening, is just as dumb. But like, this is so niche. This is such a niche hobby that we're in right now. We're podcasting about beer, for Christ's sake, and there's wine stuff going out there. But like, is it as crazy in other industries? It has to be. It has to be. Please tell me.
I'm wondering if the control that some of big beer has over distribution and shelf space is really what drives it more in the beer realm than in the wine world. I
Sure.
don't know anything about wine. I don't know much about liquor. I just know how to open the bottle and drink it.
Boom.
But the fact that some of big beer controls so much of the industry may be part of the problem, whereas in wine that isn't quite the case. I don't know. Something like that.
Well, I mean, as Ben promised, we're gonna get going with Let's Talk Wine soon, but we gotta get the barrels rolling here and figure all that out. But yeah, let's talk about some good stuff here. Bell's Brewery. I always try to have a bottle in an airport or find some Two Hearted wherever I can that it's distributed. 11 distributors are gonna help bring Bell's beer to New England and New Jersey this summer, and it's coming to all New England, including unbelievably New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we did it. So, like usually you hear it's like New England, which includes Mass and Maine. It's like, wait a minute, what about us? So we did it. It's happening. And a quick snippet from the CEO. As we add any new state, it is very important to us that we remind all of our fans about our dedication to quality. Part of the process of selecting new distributor partners is making sure that it is a shared passion. As I'm reading that, I'm also a little scared because we just talked about Green Flash, who went crazy. But they're adding they're adding some more states here. They're not adding 37 states or whatever. But this brings Bell's to 39 state footprint. So I
hope they do it right.
Yeah, Oh, same here. And it's obviously not for me. I'm a more Bell's fan than I was Green Flash. Bell's has more offerings that I kind of went towards than Green Flash, and no need to compare the two. But I just kind of drew that dotted line to the story we started with. But Bell's Two Hearted, man, what a beer. And I brought a 6-pack of cans home from Kansas City, and I can't wait to stop doing that and start buying it down the street for me. I don't know who it is though. I'd be interested to see
how long.
Huh?
How long has Bell's been around?
Bell's has been around, I can tell you right now. Probably in this here thing. Oh wait, actually, so it's coming craft brew, Guild in Massachusetts. Let's see if Sean...
Yeah, there's a couple of several distributors.
Oh, it's Craft New Hampshire, which I'm not sure if that is. No,
that's
Craft Beer Guild. I don't know.
They've
Bell's
got a nice comment feature on their website of it.
Bell's began in '85, Ben.
So they're old school.
They're old.
So, right. So this is my concern about Bell's distribution model expansion is that it's new to New Hampshire and Maine. They're coming to the East Coast, but like, are the beer consumers going to consider this as like, oh, that's great, or is it going to be like that's an old beer? Like, I'm not.
So yeah, we actually saw a decent. From a beer fan's perspective, I thought the New Belgium launch in New England was kind of a flop, as far as the more mass market beers, like the God, I've already forgot their names. The orange one and the Fat Tire, like those came out, and you every night, at least in New Hampshire, you would see a tap takeover of this or a taste of that, and it wasn't really well responded to. So I thought that the New Belgium kind of release in this area was like meh. But I think this might be better. I think this is more for the geeks because we already had New Belgiums in Massachusetts. We already had their sour ones, which was doing fine. But just kind of the more out there beers. But what do you think, Jeff? Will this take?
I hope so. I mean, I think that they've got, I don't want to say a better reputation than someone like New Belgium, but I think that maybe if this is something more wanted, I don't think anybody was like wanting New Belgium to compare the two, if you will, because it is so readily accessible, everywhere else, and it's a big thing that everyone's had. Bell's is probably an example of stuff that not a lot of people in the area regularly get, and so they're excited for it. Whereas New Belgium just wasn't bringing it to the table. So,
fact,
in my opinion,
no, it's fair. But yeah, so that's happening there. And let's see what time we got. We got about 5 more minutes. Have you guys? We haven't talked in a couple weeks. Have you guys been to any breweries lately, or had any experiences? I can kick it off. What do you guys think? This yesterday, I went back to a whiskey dinner at a place called Lone Wolf in Amherst, Mass. And God bless the whiskeys there. That was really, really good. But I stopped at a brewery called Honest Wait, and if you're watching the video on the YouTubes or the Facebook, I got a hat there. Honest Wait is in Orange, Mass, and if you find yourself on Route 2, man, it's right. It's awesome. I only had like one beer in a bar a year ago, and I'm like meh, but they stepped their game up from that meh. It's wicked good. They do a lot of IPAs, pale ales. They had a grisette on, which was really, really good. So shout out to them. And they had a grilled cheese truck outside, so I was all set. That was good enough for me. But Honest Wait, shout out to them. And, actually, shout out to Mata Lesser Day. It happened yesterday as the time of this recording. And it looked like it was well attended. Did any of you guys go?
I did not.
Negative.
No, didn't.
That's all right. And then other than that, not much. Jeff, get up to anything in the past couple weeks? Or
honestly, my last beer adventure was actually sort of a bust. I was going to Deciduous to see if I could pick up some cans again for some trading I've got going on, and they had a big release last Friday, and of course I didn't go on Friday, but I was there within an hour of them opening on Saturday, and they were completely out of all to-gozies. The cans, I guess, from what I gather, reading the Facebook post, it might have been a little bit of a disorganized can release on that previous Friday. Maybe they were a little more inundated with people than they were expecting, based on the fact that they were sold out. But hey, good for them. It sucks that our little gem that we hope nobody would ever find has apparently been found. But again, good for Deciduous for selling out. Bad for me for showing up very late.
Oh wait, selling out of the beer. Let's get that.
Selling out of their to go, selling out of their to go can.
Coming up next week, coming up next week, Deciduous sold out.
But I was on that can front able to go pick up some of the new cans at Liar's Bench. They did not let me down.
Which ones did you get? Did you get both?
Yes, they had. I'm drawing a blank on the second one, the one that's got the pants on the label.
Upstart.
No, the other one, that they had on.
Sure. Yeah.
Awesome. That one they only had a few 4-packs left, at least on display, so I was able to get some of each. But other than that, I have been working the whiskey train as you've been, more so than the beer. So maybe we have to start. Let's talk whiskey before let's talk wine.
I will. Yeah. That's our Tuesday night podcast.
I say maybe we just do like we each have a whiskey and then talk about something else that's not even beer related, and we don't talk about whiskey, but we can talk about whatever. And just because there's something to be said about the day after having a lot of good whiskey, when you wake up and you're like, I don't have a hangover. Like that if you have good whiskey or bourbon, I mean if you keep the consumption down, but you have some good ones, hangover is a lot easier to handle than a beer hangover. I'll tell you that much.
I would agree.
So tell your kids. No, I mean don't tell them. So Ben, any brewery or beer store things? I saw you were drinking an Edison a couple days ago or yesterday. From
no, I mean just kind of making the local rounds. nothing crazy.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just to the post. Garrison put out a double batch of Edison, so scooped up some of that. Scooped up some of their different one. Some of their different one, which I don't have in front of me.
Good name, different one.
Yeah, it's a different one.
Nice.
But no, not too much happening in the beer world.
I guess some news I'm going to keep an eye on. I just saw something yesterday that there wasn't much news about it. But did you guys see anything about the Some Brewery out of York, Maine is opening up another brewery on York Beach in Maine?
I saw the headline. I didn't see the details.
Yeah,
though.
So it appears
or is it an expansion?
Neither. It appears to be a Some Brewery, this is a Some Brewery production. It's called something else, but it's by like the makers of Some. So maybe it's like the same investor. Again, I'm only keeping an eye on it because I don't know much about it. But it seems to me that it will be Some owned, but it'll be called something else. So we'll see what's going on with that. But that's very interesting for York Beach for sure. So I don't know. something to keep an eye on.
We should get Dave back up on this.
Yes, let's get him back up on ASAP.
He's an LTB regular.
Yes, yep, friend of the show, and I was talking to Nick Evans, and we're gonna have him on soon again to talk about Northwoods because that's coming in real quick. Like before we're done this podcast, it'll be open, so it's coming up that quick. But as always, guys and gals, tell a friend about the show at Let's Talk Beer. We do the video of this audio podcast on Facebook, and we put it up on YouTube, so you can forward links and stuff like that. And tell a friend about the show. Tell 2 friends, why not? And if you like beer, do work. But until then, Jeff and Ben, as always, my friends, good to see you as per usual. And cheers to the next show.
Cheers.
Cheers.